It's free. Okay, recording. Good evening. My name is Jill James. I call the Committee for Zoning for Housing Preservation and Equity committee meeting at 7:36 p.m. January 25th. Welcome. I'm very happy for you, those who've made it out tonight. I know it's been very challenging over the past couple of days with the cold that we've had. And so this is the first real night of warmth. So I fully understand. Let's just very quickly go through and identify who's with us this evening. This is MJL James. And just jump in, please. There's somebody who has their either TV or radio on. Do you mind muting until you're speaking? Thank you. Mhm. Okay, please identify yourselves. Please announce yourselves.
Okay,
evening.
Margaret Villante, board member, committee member.
Teresa Brereton.
Lydia Perrin Robinson, committee member.
Rolla, committee member.
Okay, I guess when they're ready to jump back in, we'll give them a second to be able to introduce themselves, well, announce themselves. So again, good evening. Thank you very much for coming out this evening. And I know we did not have a meeting in December and November because our meeting fell right around the holiday time. Today is January 25th. And our meeting last year, December, would have been right around Christmas time and Thanksgiving. In my chairperson's report, the task ahead of us is still great. It's still necessary. It's still about fighting for this community. And we keep hearing every day there's a housing crisis. Nobody's denying it. But what we're saying, it should not be solved or attempted to be solved at communities that are the most vulnerable. So looking at our community and thinking it's more vulnerable than other communities because of the political clout or because of their whatever they have, that we should bear the brunt of it is entirely not fair. And so the purpose of this zoning for housing preservation and equity committee is to demand that the city address this disparity. And we are willing to do what we can to help, but it should not be at the expense of destroying all the homes in Community Board 17. So again, thank you very much for coming out this evening. What we're going to just do, we're going to have just a very brief meeting tonight. It's essentially to do two things, just to make you aware of the final plan proposal that was sent out by Pratt Center, and then what's the next step forward? What do we need to do to move this forward? So I'm going to actually open it up. How many of you, just show my hands, did get to take a look at the proposal that was done by Pratt? Okay, great. So I'll just bring it up so you have those who didn't have the chance to take a look will be aware of what we're talking about. It was a fairly extensive document that was done detailing the issues facing our community. And I am looking for it on my computer. It's there. Okay. Okay, great. I need to stop. Why is it not sharing? Okay. Is everybody seeing the document right now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So Pratt has released this document. We're not going to go through it in details unless anybody has questions. But essentially, what we came up with, it was brought before the committee as well, was a proposal whereby certain streets would be upzoned. Because what's been happening is that we see the destruction of the homes taking place in our community and the multifamily buildings going up. And while there's a need for housing, it can be done in a way that is not detrimental to our community. So I'm just going to scroll through to the more pertinent sections. So yeah, the major issues we've dealt with were proposing zoning changes. How do we maintain Black home ownership and small business opportunities for Nostrand Avenue? Sorry, my screen is moving so slowly. Wow. So this is another picture of, and you know what happens when you live in a situation like this, it's very intimidating. I know this family that lived on Lenox Avenue between two buildings like this, and every day you're being told you don't belong here. Not verbally, but the feeling that you're being squeezed out. That's a very, very uncomfortable feeling, especially when you bought the house, you weren't anticipating this. So again, this is a report that details our planning or rezoning plan in terms of dealing with the issues you're facing. Now, complicating the matter is that the city has a proposal out there called the City of Yes for Housing Opportunity, and pretty much it calls for it. It says it's asking for a little from everyone, which sounds good. The question is that going to be a reality, or are we still going to be facing the brunt of their development taking place? So this is our district. The boundaries: Clarkson, East New York, Rockaway Parkway, Foster, and Flatbush Avenue. Towards Rockaway Parkway, there's going to be a major development, so we're hoping to take advantage of that. And very likely will be approved by the city council person.
I'm just looking, can you go back to that map? Whereas
Sure.
Foster is not the boundary down there.
No,
Not unless they're meaning something else, because they have Foster Avenue on the other side of the railroad there.
so
Foster,
that's not the,
that's not right.
okay,
just
so
What?
what should it be, please?
On the other side of the railroad, is Glenwood Road, Kings Highway. Oh, Kings Highway's here. I don't know why they have Foster Avenue there.
So I think it just stops here, but all this here is Glenwood, you see
Yeah,
right
but Foster
here.
Avenue is north of the Long Island Railroad. I live between Foster and Farragut, so I know that.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Yeah, yeah.
I think they just made a mistake there, so.
Can I clarify that? I'm sorry to bother in. I just came in.
We're not hearing you. Can you speak up, please? Good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening. Okay. Yeah,
Were
and I
you
just
commenting-
wanted to, I wanted to explain the Foster Avenue thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, because Foster Avenue ends at Kings Highway, you are right. You are between Foster and Fargo, like me. But then when it gets to Kingside Way, it goes past the railroad track. Then on the other side of Kingside Way, it is south of the railroad track.
It doesn't angle up like that. It ends right there.
Well,
is-
it
a
ends
Foster
at
Avenue
Kingside
in it.
Way, but you make
Okay.
a right on Kingside Way, past
Then it
Fargo,
ends.
then make a left on Kingside Way, and that's where it starts again. It's weird, but the
Yeah,
map is
it's
right
not-
because they
Yeah,
show
but
it.
but where Foster Avenue is there, it's not in our district, so it seems a little bit confusing.
Yeah, because if you see it,
Foster Avenue is within our district.
but if you notice the map, it's showing Foster Avenue after Kingside Way.
Okay, but it's, okay.
So yeah, this area is what they're saying. This area is outside, just the highlighted areas within the district. So
Right, I guess what I'm saying is that to show Foster Avenue as being outside the district, it seems like Foster Avenue isn't in the district.
oh, I see.
It
Okay,
is.
that area Foster Avenue, but Foster Avenue continues somewhere around here, right?
It
goes
goes
there.
straight, it goes straight
Yeah.
to the end, and then there's a little turn and there's a little more of it, but
Yeah,
that's
all
not the
this,
main part of it, yeah.
this you see this all here.
Yeah,
This
all
should
of
be
that is
Foster
Foster
Avenue.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
So you're
that's-
right. It comes down here and turns there and goes down
Right.
there. So I mean, they probably could have moved it higher up to make it clearer.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying, but yes, it's the
yeah, it's just a small little thing.
okay, good. Mhm. So the study was done by Janes, I think. Oh, that's terrible. Matrix and as well as Pratt. Okay. So here they're showing the permits that were issued. No, look at this. What do you see here? Can somebody tell me what you're seeing?
Yes. Good evening. This is Antoinette Smart. That is a massive amount of permits that were issued in CB 17 in our district, it seems. And if you compare it to the others, it's just totally astronomical.
Look at our next door neighbor, right next
Wow.
door, Canarsie.
Yeah.
It is almost impossible
Wow.
to do any type of major development in Canarsie, Flatlands area, unless you go to the community board, to a ULURP, and even then it appears to be very seldom granted. So for example, there is a new building at the corner of Remsen and Flatlands. And when they were doing it, I was like, oh, in my anticipation, it was going to be a 4 or 5 story building. Guess what? They were just replacing a 2-story building with another 2-story building. And that's because that's all they could unless they'd gotten special permission. So now, I mean, how can anyone look at this and think it's fair? So
Well, that's
residents,
because most of Canarsie is R4, and maybe some R5, and so they can't build there.
correct. So the residents, someone was saying something, go ahead. So yeah, they're protected home ownership in CB 18, CD 18, whereas 17 is vulnerable, and it's all vulnerability is being exploited to the maximum. I mean, look at the range. This is just
I will tell you that some of Canarsie, there are parts that are still R3. Believe it or not.
And it hasn't been because of trying by 17. We didn't just wake up last year. There have been chairs who worked diligently Alison Martinez, before that, going back even Ricky Tulloch. We were about the second community board to try to rezone. And we have been systematically unable to do so. Even when the former city council person, Jumani, I mean, if you just Google the newspapers, you'll see him out there protesting, trying to march, and that was without success. So this tells the story as complete as we could ever want it to tell. So again, the whole idea of being squeezed out, surrounded by massive buildings, and this feeling of not belonging anymore. So what we did was look at various areas, which they're going to show very, very soon. The areas that we looked at to propose being able to increase housing there. And I can tell you what we've proposed is very substantial. I know at one point Marguerite had concerns about the level of it, but we were just trying to.
I said, I still do.
I know, but we were trying to show good faith, right? So this, when you go through the document, which I think, has anybody not received I mean, I'm going through it so you can just basically get an idea. But I encourage you to take us, a couple of minutes if you have a copy. If you don't have a copy, send me an email, send a text, call me, and I will send you a copy of it. But this sort of summarizes what the proposal is, where we're upzoning a substantial portion we're upzoning practically all the wide streets to be able to allow for the huge developments, right? You certainly don't want to put a huge building in the middle of a one lane street. So, for example, 98th Street, Rockaway Parkway, Utica, New York, Rogers, Church Avenue, portions of Church Avenue. But this gives you a visual of what is being proposed in terms of upzoning. And what we're saying to the city, we're giving you more housing than any other community board except like downtown Brooklyn is doing. So all we're asking is in exchange for this that you protect, give the same level of protection that other districts have. So for example, Staten Island, even Long Island of New York City, it's so hard to do housing over there. But this is what we're proposing. So this is what the map would look like in terms of down zoning at the Nostrand Avenue. Why? We need areas for small businesses. And there's been a lot of pushback because, developers have their mindset on Nostrand Avenue. Using transit-oriented development. It sounds good. But my thing is, there are many other areas in the city along train lines which are zoned R4, R5. So why is it there is this insistence that in our community, along their transit line, it must be an R7 or R8? It's not fair because if you Nostrand Avenue, except for very few areas, the buildings there are already 3 stories. There are places along subway lines where there's only one-story building, and that's perfectly fine in those community. But in our community, then that's a whole different story. All businesses, local businesses, will not have anywhere else to go to conduct business if we allow that area to be rezoned with higher rents, 10,000, 20,000. We are putting small local businesses out of business. So the city on one hand can be talking about helping small businesses and then destroying Black and brown businesses in our community. It doesn't make sense. Anybody wants to jump in here?
Well, I would just like to reconfirm what I have been saying. In the plan to give them anything, in this version of it, we're also giving up too much of the low density areas. If we're going to give up these corridors, I don't think that we should be upzoning any of the low density areas to B. So we have the 4B and the 5B. They should all be A's.
Okay,
I will say that, and I will keep saying that.
okay.
Because
I hope, I mean, you sent in the comment, right? Because we have not gone through and
commenting
tabulated.
on it. I know, but this is really important because if they get there, that's making them Bs where they're
Mhm.
not right now is essentially upzoning those areas, and those are low density areas. And in order to
Mhm.
keep the housing and
Mhm.
preserve the homes that are there, if you upzone to B, you're going to have denser buildings, and they're going to just knock down the single family homes, and they'll put garden apartments, and they'll put things closer together, and you're going to destroy, it will destroy the low density areas. So if we're going to give
Okay.
up corridors, we cannot do any of these B areas.
So my
So
question to you then, would an R4 just by itself, would it still prevent that from happening, or does it still
Well,
leave
it
it
would,
vulnerable?
if you, an R4, the way they are now, like just R4 and
Mhm.
R5 with no A and B on them,
Mhm.
it leaves it open, but there's still things that they can't do. If you make it a B,
Mhm.
then they can just knock down, every time somebody sells this private house, they can knock it down and put three garden apartments there. Like there'd be no incentive for them just to, I don't know how to explain it any better. It's like if I sell my home right now, a developer there's no incentive for him to buy it unless he's just gonna flip it to another private home.
Mhm. Mhm.
But if you upzone it, if you zone it for a B, then the developer will come in and buy all the private homes in a row, and then he can make this one string of garden apartments because there's no of B zoning. There's no spacing between the homes, and it can be built like in a block.
I see what
So
you're
if you make-
saying.
so where there's single homes, even if there's
Mhm.
some homes on the block that are already like attached homes,
Mhm.
if
Mhm.
there's other homes on that block that are private single homes, if you upzone that block to B, then the whole block will change.
Okay.
And
But
then
look at,
there won't be those single homes. So there'll be no incentive for people to move, to buy a home. There'll be no homes,
but
basically.
looking at this, looking at the R4 entire area, all right? Isn't it just a small portion that is R4B and R4? Because I think what
Well,
he did here. Mhm.
yeah, I mean, there's also areas that are being put to R41, which was also not, I don't know why. I mean, I would leave that at R4A, but
Okay.
the areas that there's only one little area that becomes two areas that become R4B, but it's also the 5 and 3. No, there's 3 areas that become R4B, but then there's large areas that become R5B, and that's even worse because those are bigger areas, which are now not B. So if you're going to rezone those 5 areas, they should go to 5A, not to 5B.
Okay.
Right now, they're just R5.
Yeah, I
So
know. So again, I mean, please
go ahead.
put a very detailed, go into the survey and please put this in very good detail.
But
So we have it.
I mean, I emailed you about this. I don't know how to
Yeah,
detail it in the
but
survey.
no, the survey is where the survey is what's going to be presented to DCP is going to be compiled,
And I
right?
took the survey already, and I don't think I
Okay,
can
so
take it again.
no, it's okay, good. So
Yeah,
it's
I don't
there. I
think
just
they'll
need
let
to
me
make
take it
sure.
again.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's there.
But I
So
think that we all, as a committee and as a community board, need to understand this. And I don't think everybody understands that. Because if we're going to give up corridors, we shouldn't be giving B zoning anywhere.
okay, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Outside of an area in Queens, Community Board 17 has the largest Black home ownership. And as I tell folks, there's a reason why persons from Europe got on a boat, weathered the sea to get to the United States. It was with the dream, what was American dream of home ownership. Now, it is a fact not everyone will own a home, okay? But as many people who own homes, they make it better for the rest of the community who does not own homes. Because one, many times homeowners provide more affordable rentals, right? So everybody is not at the mercy of developers. One statistic showed there are about 34, I use this often, there are about over 500,000 doctors, lawyers, and CPAs in this country. In the entire country, there are about 35,000 developers. And in New York, there are about 1,000. What does that mean? So in this rush to tear down houses and build high rise, what we are doing here is a permanent transfer of wealth from low income persons to high income persons. And that's permanent. Okay. So there are many people who, if it wasn't for their house, they would have no other asset. I remember traveling from LaGuardia to my home on a cab, and this man is extolling the virtues of not owning a home. You don't have to worry, saving the stock in the stock market. The reality is, when people have kids, obligations, whatever, being able to save in today's economy is not that easy. When your housing cost is 30-40% of your income, there isn't much left over when you have to pay taxes and everything else. So home ownership offers the only meaningful opportunity right now to ensure that Black and brown people don't slide into poverty. And that's why it's important that we maintain it. If the city wanted to really end this housing crisis, it would take $100 million compared to everything else that they're doing. With that, enable sensible conversions only where it is safe. And again, I reiterate, only where it is safe, to be able to have, one family homes, not building extensions. We're not talking about changing garages and all those other things, but where there is a clear exit in and out for rental, provide those funds, because we could increase the number of units, apartment units throughout the city drastically by that very simple measure, and at the same time maintaining homes. So, it sounds very good, build, but at the same, destroy homes, build huge apartment buildings. But another thing too, it's costing the city a lot more. Because now when you have people who can't pay rent turning to the city for rent, that's a burden on the city. So on one hand, they get very excited because they have all these additional revenues, people are moving in. But on the other hand, it's costing the city a lot more to sustain those who the city has now made homeless by the very actions it's taking. So Community Board 17 is a very beautiful, despite the lack of services or the poor services we receive, I can tell you, Community Board 17 is a beautiful area. There are areas in Brooklyn that I would not want to live. It just doesn't have any charm. It just doesn't have, the ambience that we have. In summertime, driving through the community, you see all the roses and, the trees and the plants. It's really beautiful. And so what's happening is the city is systematically enabling the destruction of a beautiful neighborhood for reasons that don't have to be. Okay, so let me just go through this, and then after this, we're just going to open up for discussion. Again, I've been passionate about Nostrand Avenue. Do I like the look of Nostrand Avenue? No, but we have to remember that many people, many business owners on Nostrand Avenue don't own the buildings, right? So you have those gates in place from since the 70s, where the landlords have not improved it. But no matter how depressed Nostrand Avenue may look, as new businesses come in, there are Is that still Citibank on Ocean Avenue? I forgot it was there. Sometimes I'm looking for Citibank. No matter how bad it looks, it's still what's available to persons of color who want to own a business. And what's great, as small businesses move in, new businesses move in, they're changing the storefronts, enhancing it. If there's a bid there, it needs to become more active in cleaning up the streets. But yes, this is the opportunity for small businesses in Community Board 17, and the city should be encouraging that and facilitating this instead of trying to destroy it. Okay, and 17 again. So what we did do a survey of Nostrand Avenue business owners, and their major concern was the fact that if there is development that takes place, they will no longer be able to do any business, have a business area. Church Avenue is being developed. Other areas are being developed. That's the only corridor, commercial corridor, which gives them. So yeah, these are examples, right? Where it shows how protected, right, these areas are from development. So why is it that there's this insistence that in Community Board 17 that we give up the only corridor, real meaningful corridor we have for development? The major next step in moving this forward is community engagement. I'm hoping that we can collectively find a way to move this forward. The DCP is going to require that we get involved and get the community involved in it. So that's what we need to discuss. I'm hoping next month that we have a town hall meeting where we invite members of the public to be able to come up and give their viewpoints on this. But to be able to move this forward, that is what it's going to take. So I'm going to end here and open up for any discussions, any comments that anyone has. Marguerite, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you recognizing me?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so, you know, my confusion about this is that we keep saying we're gonna open it up and we're gonna have these town halls and we're gonna talk about it, but we're presenting it with the map the way it is. The proposal with the upzoning to the B areas and all this stuff. Now, you're saying to put it in the survey, and how is that survey gonna change this map? Because as a board member, I cannot vote on this based on the way that proposal is set up. So how are we going to change that map so
So
that,
for example, you have an issue, right?
Mhm.
You put it in the survey, right? It's considered, right? This is a proposal. This is not
Yeah,
written in
but
stone.
who's seeing the survey?
The survey is going to be released. Well, I would say by
Also,
the end
so
of.
who, you know, the point is that we didn't decide on that map. Pratt decided on that map, or whoever, we weren't involved in setting up the new proposal. So why is it like stuck in, it's like it's printed in gold or something, like we can't change it? As a community
in-
board member, I think that we should be able to amend that before we put it out there to the public.
And back in September it was. No, actually it had to be before September. In May last year, the committee voted on this.
I know that.
And the only change that was made after that was to sort of try to downzone the end of New York Avenue. But this was exactly what the board had, the committee had voted on and went
Well,
to
I
the
didn't
board.
vote on it. I said we need to make a change to it, and we keep talking about putting it in a survey, but that's not, there's not enough information for people to understand it so that they would, you know, agree with that or not.
Okay.
with it.
Okay, so that's how it could work here, right? So we have the town hall meeting and you raise the issue and you raise the concern, right? And then you convince persons at that town hall that you are correct in that it needs to be changed.
I am correct.
And then you encourage them to fill out the survey and say, I think the proposal is good. I think it provides for additional housing. However, my major concern is that by having R4B versus just an R4 is going to lead to the further
Yeah, I
destruction.
understand. That puts
So
a
the
lot.
number, let me just
a lot
say
on
something.
me.
So when
A lot on me to have to do as an individual here. You know,
when
what I'm
you,
saying? It should be, we should be discussing it as at a community level, at a committee level, and at a board level before we put it out there to the public. We should have the conversation.
what you see
I, as this
here,
individual, is gonna, I have to try to convince the community on my
that's
own.
not, okay. There was a board meeting where this was discussed.
And I
You had
tried
the
to discuss
opportunity
it.
to make
I
the
did
point.
try to discuss it, and the
Yes.
chair sort of kept telling me I couldn't speak anymore. So I wasn't
You're
really
correct.
able to, right?
You are correct, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, this had to move forward at this point of time.
Right. Mm-hmm.
What I'm simply saying to you is, you've raised a very valid point. I'm giving you the path to address it. At the town hall meeting, you raised the point again. And you don't, all you have to do is encourage the folks who are at the town meeting to go in and fill out the survey and say, I like it, except for this. If enough, Margarita, the thing is, you cannot be the only one who objects to a particular issue, right? There has to be a level of consensus. We're not going to like everything. However, if you can convince, then all you have to do is to speak up. Speak up and direct them. I'm encouraging you, go to the board's website and say, they can all be negative to the whole plan. They will have to say, I like the plan, but this is a problem. If enough people say that, it will be changed. The thing is, the board voted to accept it as is. It cannot just be
Okay,
changed because
so,
of one objection.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but how is it going to be changed? Are we going to then bring it before the board again and re-vote on it? Like, who's making this decision? Once the
Because
survey,
at this point, it's the community.
yeah, but it's not the community in the end, because we have to present it to Department of City Planning as a board.
Correct. They're going to see the comments. All those surveys
So what
are
I'm
going to.
saying is it's gonna go to the city planning as is with comments, and we're not gonna be presenting it in a different way. We're still gonna be.
Okay,
presenting it
no. What would happen, Margarita?
Yeah.
I apologize, but okay. Well, what will happen is if we get 20 comments, right?
Mhm.
Where there is enough survey, then it has to go back to the board. It'll be voted on the board, because the board is very receptive. The board voted down a major project because one, one block, 4 or 5 people in the block opposed a recreational center. The board is very sensitive to the community. It really is, right? So if enough people speak up, bring it back to the board, it will be changed, and a revised map will be incorporated one way or the other into this plan, saying, based on our community engagement, this is what the community is asking. So I'm just asking to trust the process. But
Okay. well,
ask your neighbors.
I was just trying to find out what the process actually
Okay.
was. So
Okay.
the process now is that if you get 20 comments, then it will come back before the board. for review.
Absolutely. You have me on, this is on you, you have me. If we get it could be even, get comments. It will have to go back to the board and say, this is a community perspective, we discussed there. And the county is not going to redo it, but in submitting it to DCP sometime in the next 2 or 3 months after we've done this engagement, it will be stated that this is the revised map we're asking DCP to incorporate. Ask your neighbors, speak to people in your neighbors. We need, we need comments. We need to show, and I'm just asking you, please, in speaking to them, if it comes across negative against the whole thing, right? That's going to work against us, right? So it has to be, go ahead, sorry, Mr. T, go ahead.
Oh, no, I apologize. I interrupted you. So you finish up. I
Please go
apologize.
ahead, please go ahead. Mhm.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that Marguerite is raising a very, I want to call it a very valid point based on understanding, the designation, whether 4B versus non-4B. And that is an actual key, it's a key qualifier, because if the goal of this proposal is to kind of limit or slow down the developers kind of moving through the community board 17, then that designation is kind of central to achieving the goals of the committee in terms of this proposal. So what I would recommend is that Marguerite or a couple of folks here draft the exact language so it's very comprehensive. It's kind of technical, and it's also can be confusing. This is just a humble opinion, but I think if Marguerite and or a group of people put together the statement which needs to go into the survey and or be presented to the community board, right? With the committee members signing on to get it started, if in fact they all agree that it's central, including yourself, then I think that's a really good start. I think if we leave it open-ended, then it's left to interpretation, and then you're constantly having to re-explain the issue. So I'll stop there, and hopefully, Marguerite, I've added value to what it is you're trying to articulate, eh?
Okay. I would
Yes,
just
thank you.
say this. It is sort of difficult to be precise. Okay, I'm thinking like, okay, fine. I have no problem in going back, amending the survey to discuss whether it should be an R4 or R4B. I'm simply saying it's can be very lengthy and very detailed to get people to understand that. It
But
is
we have to do
easier,
that.
but I'm simply saying it's easier for someone to write in 2 sentences. I like the plan, except my concern is that areas which were previously designated as R4 are now being redesignated as R4B. This will encourage developers to destroy, still encourage developers to destroy homes and build garden apartments. The point comes through very clearly. But for me to try to like incorporate, do you think, I mean, it just, the survey has to be precise enough and short enough to make people want to do it. So does that make
No, we
sense?
agree. No.
Mhm,
I think we're in agreement. I think it
mhm,
is whatever that 2-sentence, to use your language, I think
mhm.
whatever that 2-sentence phrase is, then just put it together and articulate it, right? So rather than not rather than, but just be very definitive in terms of what it is you want said in order that the survey gets revised. I mean that it's included accurately within the survey, but then the designations get revised in the right way to achieve the goal.
Yeah, I mean, the survey has a place to be able to insert that sentence, or those 2 sentences. But to ask, for example, if I revise this, because the survey and say, do you think that we should go from an R4 to an R41 for R4B? Many of the people are not going to be able to spend the time to fully understand the differences. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
well, can I
Huh?
just,
Yeah,
can
and
I
we
say something?
and
Can I say something? But
yeah,
that's part of the problem, that the survey is
exactly.
it's pretty, generic, and nobody's gonna really understand this anyway. Because, I know a lot about it, and I still don't know a lot about it. So when we're giving this survey, which is not really in depth about anything. It's like an overview of everything. And most people are gonna agree to it because they don't understand it.
So, but here, I mean, I'm making this, I'm given this opportunity here. You've just spoken up,
Yeah.
and Mr. Rock may not have thought about, I'm not saying he didn't, but you one person here. So I cannot, okay.
Yeah, well, I think
Very
more people,
simply.
more people.
I'm in
thoroughly agree
agreement.
with you.
I'm in agreement with Marguerite. She's not alone.
So then please go to listen to this. I'm gonna process words. A plan was discussed. It was brought, this was voted on by the board. Okay? This
Board
was
wouldn't
voted
let me
on
speak
one
about
second.
it, so it's not.
Whatever the circumstances, it was voted on by the board. It cannot just be
Right,
changed by me or anyone. I'm giving you the path to change it. I'm not being biased here. I'm giving you the path. Speak to people that anybody who lives in the district can do this. If you get 20 people to say that I like the plan except for the areas of R4, which were previously R4, now being changed to R4B. I disagree because it will still encourage the destruction of homes. Trust me, that will work. Because those comments are going to be presented to DCP, it's going to come back to me, and it's going to have to, if more people say included. This is what you call community engagement. So for example, if the map had said change everything to R8, R7, blow up R, I'm saying the survey is, that's what community engagement from DCP, just one second, I'll be right with you. From DCP's perspective, this is how the process works. I'm not asking you to go out there and do anything so drastic. Talk to your neighbors, make some calls, flood the survey. Once that's done, the board is going to have to revote on the issue. Bree, the floor is yours.
I'm sorry, I'm fighting a cold, so
Just
excuse my
ready for
voice.
the survey.
1 second, Margarita. Bree has the floor right now. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just wanted to throw my support behind Marguerite because we definitely brought up our concerns when the zoning was initially proposed. For me specifically in R5, I was concerned about the R5B, and I had, my reasons. I think we all discussed it in previous meetings. So I'm happy to throw my support behind her. I just wanted her to know, and wanted everyone else on the call to know that she's not alone. I also agree with her.
Good, wonderful. So put in survey, but let me just say one thing. When this map was not just drawn up in a closet by the consultants, this was
Yes, it
voted
was.
on.
Yes,
One
it
second,
was.
please, Margarita. The minutes will show that this first had to be voted on by, it was, I wonder I can't remember what the vote was. You did not sustain the point of that time. The majority prevailed to leave it as is. You want us to come back to it, Marguerite, you want us to come back to it. I'm being open to it. I'm not saying no. You brought it up at the board and you did not prevail at the
But I
board.
brought that up
And,
at the committee level also.
you did it at both levels and you failed. You did not,
Well,
you didn't,
Yeah, all
you
right.
did not win the point, right? The consensus was to go otherwise. I'm giving you a third opportunity, a third. When the committee voted on it, you're in the minority, your vote did not prevail. When the board voted on it, you're also in the minority, the majority prevailed. I'm giving you a third opportunity to make your statement. And I'm asking, I'm simply saying to you is, if you want to get it changed, get people to fill out the survey. They cannot blast the whole thing because any blasting comments made against the whole thing, that's going to be in DCP's favor and corner, right? They have to embrace, I'm just telling them to make this work. They need to embrace whatever they can and very simply state, however, when it comes to the previous areas previously designated R4, I do not think it's in the community's best interest to move from an R4B to an R41 because, and that's all you need to state. If we
Yeah, I
get,
understand that, but I
Okay,
just.
so
I
can
just
we
have
move
to
on
say-
now,
I-
please?
I have to, no, because I have to say one thing. When we were talking about it at the committee level, and I kept bringing that up, I was told, oh, well, we're just voting on the proposal. We can always change the map later. This is what kept being.
This is exactly what this is a proposal. It is not a
Right.
final document. Margarita, the
Okay,
process is
I got it. Go ahead, move.
the promise, community engagement. It has to be, we need to get the buy-in or the lack of buy-in from the community.
I
And
just
one
don't
more
understand
time.
why we would sell out the community board, the community, and then present it to the public with a bad plan. It's a bad plan for us. But okay, it's done. We can move forward. Hopefully, everybody here hasn't filled out the survey and maybe now can put this
And
information.
ask your friends, neighbors, whatever to do it and make the comment. I'm just simply saying, do not, if for example, you just made the statement of it's a bad plan. DCP is going to look at, okay, 100 people said it's a bad plan simply because they disagreed with one aspect of it. So be very careful. I'm saying we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot, right? So I'm asking to be very
Yeah.
precise.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Madam Chair, yeah, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. The reason is that I've been waiting patiently for a while, and in front
Okay.
of me, it was Theresa Bevington with her hands up for a long time. So I don't know if
Please.
Theresa still want to talk, or because I have a simple question. It's a
Okay,
simple question.
Teresa, then Mr. T. Go ahead, please. Ms. Burton?
Oh, sorry. I will yield to brother Mr. Tate. And please lower my hands. For some reason, I'm not seeing. Yeah.
Please, somebody mute so we can hear everyone, please. Please mute. Please mute, please. Go ahead. Okay,
Ms. Bevington,
Mr. Tate.
did she say
She
yield the
yields
floor
to
to
you.
me?
Yes, she
Okay,
yields
thank
to
you.
you.
Yeah. My question is that because I'm looking at the map with the R4Bs, and it only shows one street. Could we, in any way, show the borders where they actually border? For instance, one spot I see Farragut Road, and then the other one I see Clarendon Road. But what are the boundaries over
The
there?
cross. Okay. So what was done here in areas which are already garden apartments, to use Ms. Vigilante's words, they kept the designation that matches what's there. An R4A is really it's very clear, and it's for detached houses. So what he said is that in areas where you don't have detached houses, and I'll let the next person speak and I'll scroll down to what an R4A is. That it does not make sense to tell the city to designate an area which is garden houses already as detached houses when it's not going to
Yes, but can I
Yeah.
one
say
second, please.
something
One
else
second,
too?
please. 1 second, please.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
that was the rationale for creating the R4Bs that you see here. That's exactly what it currently is. Garden home apartments.
Oh, I was talking about R4
but-
and R5B. It's a lot bigger than just those two little spots.
Okay.
And they're not all garden
Yeah.
apartments. There
No,
are garden
yeah.
apartments.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I need to have
Can I
other people who
explain,
need the
George?
other 1
You know,
second. I
I
think
would
you've
like
made
to
you
explain it.
have made the point.
No, because you're not being
Miss
clear about it.
Martinez is
You're not
next.
being
Ms.
clear about
Martinez.
No.
March.
No. You see,
March.
you went beyond my question. My question is simple. What are the boundaries
Oh,
from
what streets? You mean like
Yes.
what streets? Okay,
Yes.
1 second. Let me see if I can okay.
George, it's a
let's see.
huge area. It's a huge
So
area.
this is it. So for
Yeah, but if we
example,
have the boundaries, like for instance, a Fargo to Foster over here, but then
yes.
the other one down
So
here,
this Margarita,
has-
would you
he
stop?
ha-
Please stop speaking when somebody
I'm
else is
sorry.
speaking.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
But then this one over here near the Cortelli Road, I see Clarendon on one side, but I don't see anything else. I see the cemetery. I assume the green is the cemetery, but where are the other boundaries to the left and to the right?
Okay, so for example, this, if I can see my mouse, this I think represents Utica Avenue, which would make this 49th Street, 48, 47, 46, 45, 44. So from the area of 44 to about 40, right? From here going up to Cotelia Road, where already you have row houses,
Mhm.
right? So he's not, this does not change what is already there. I repeat, this does not change the character of the homes that are there.
Yes, it does.
What Marguerite is concerned about is that a developer would still want to destroy the homes, which are these are all row homes. I happen to live in a fully attached neighborhood, right? So what her concern is that if, for example, there is a gap between, 2, 3 homes, 4 homes in a gap, a developer will tear down the homes and build no of the same size, but garden homes. There are no detached homes in R4B here. There are no detached homes here. That is the point, and that's why R4B was selected. Now, who else has not still spoken? I have to let them speak. My system is showing me Hazel Martinez. Was there anybody before her that I didn't acknowledge? If not, then Mr. Price will speak. Please go ahead.
I'm
Ms.
willing to yield my.
Martinez? Okay, so Mr. Price.
I was going to say I'm willing to yield my time to Adele because I know she wanted to speak earlier.
Okay, so Adele, please go ahead.
She was there before me.
Okay, the floor is open to anyone who has not previously spoken.
Good evening. This is Hazel Martinez. What I'm concerned about is that I don't think there was enough engagement of the community, and a lot of the board members have no idea what you're talking about at all. They have not engaged in land use at all. And so they don't know anything about this zoning. They're just there voting yes, but they don't really know what they're voting about, and it's going to have serious impact on the community as a whole. And I think
Okay,
a lot of effort. And I think you
but
need to have some actual photos of models of what each one of these designations are, so that people have a visual idea of what they look like, rather than just words, because zoning is not an easy thing to learn.
you're absolutely right. Who is next?
If I may, if no one is speaking, absolutely. This is Antoinette Smart again. I concur with Ms. Martinez, and this is why I posted in the chat a few minutes ago. There's a lot of people that are in the board, that have been in the board for many years, even for when it was just land use, that have absolutely no idea what R4, R4B, R5, what any of this means, and they need a visual. Folks understand more if it's presented in front of them visually. So maybe if at some point one of the meetings, I don't know, someone who is creative can create, photos or pictures of what Ms. Martinez mentioned, so folks can have a visual of what R4 looks like, R4B looks like, R5 looks like, and show exactly what you were showing, Ms. James, how it's being squeezed in the R5s with interspersed between the tiny little apartment buildings, the tiny little homes. I know I'm living with that now, right in my community. I'm on 34th Street between Farragut and Brooklyn Road and Farragut Road. So we're saturated with it. So I have a clear understanding of what it is. But there are many, many, many people who have no clue. And this is why I said it. We're using words. And Marguerite, I totally I have your back. I concur with a lot of the things you're saying, but we're using words, but folks have no visual. They have no understanding.
So,
And this needs to expand. It needs to go
so,
more into the community, not just the few people that are in the board. Thank you.
so that's why community engagement is, we were starting a process of community engagement right now in terms of reaching out
Absolutely.
the community. And but it cannot be a one-man person trying to do this community engagement. It's going to take all of us, speak to people, make some calls, and let them get involved and let them know what's happening. I would also encourage you to send an email to the chair, because it has been a matter of fact that I have not been able to fully present this to the board because I've gotten pushback from the chair about the amount of time being spent on zoning. So for example, at the last meeting, when I had a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation to show the differences, I was not allowed to present it. So we have to make the chair understand that this is important to us. And I'm asking those who are members of this board here and even the committee members, ask the chairperson, as the district manager, call the district manager's office, get the chair, the board's chair's email, and let him know that this is important to us. Because half of the reason we're in this predicament right now, where people don't know, is because of the pushback I've gotten every single time I have tried to advance this. And I'm on record as saying this. Okay. Who else has not spoken?
I jump in. This is CK.
Yes.
I say this as someone who came to the community board about 2 years ago now as a former community organizer, specifically a tenant organizer, and really wanted to get an idea of what was going on with the land use committee, the housing committee, and then this committee broke out. I'm trying to be succinct, forgive me if I pause for a second to collect my thoughts. Okay. I second or third or fifth the idea that we need to do a better job of educating people about what the issues are. I remember a few months ago bringing up the idea of a 1 or 2 pager. Like there needs to be something that people can look at and understand quickly. And that's a difficult task considering the topic matter, the subject matter, but that's something that I feel like will go a long way to getting input that is real and substantive and sensible.
Okay.
I've been trying to do this, be in these committees for the last 2 years, and between not always getting access to committee meetings for reasons I don't fully understand, and you all got lives, and my own little schedule stuff, but I don't feel, as much as I believe that that needs to happen, I don't feel qualified as someone who knows some of this stuff to actually help make that 1 or 2 pager, because I feel like the issues have happened. I feel like things jump. I come back after a month or two because I finally get back into a meeting and things have jumped ahead or jumped backwards. I'm not even necessarily sure what the prerogatives are that people are fighting for and why those are the prerogatives, if that makes sense. So I think there needs to be a real effort to develop materials so that it's all well and good to say, because it's all well and good to say, here's the survey, make your, state your opinion. But I don't think right now people are educated enough. And again, I would count myself among these people who are not educated enough to state a real opinion on that survey about what should and shouldn't work or how I think things should be, because I don't understand the issue. And I've been trying to be in these meetings for 2 years.
Okay. So what I would say at this point is, I know this is a long document, but if you just take at least probably 30 minutes to just page through it, right? It's a lot visual. A lot of it's communicated by visual. So for example, the issue of what is an R4 is actually in this document. It shows you a picture of what the R4 is. An R4 can constitute of, you can have a detached house, you can have attached row houses here. This is what an R4 looks like, right? So it's a mix. It's non-contextual, meaning it could be anything except it cannot exceed 3, don't hold me to it, 2 or 3 stories. This is an
May I ask a few
R4.
questions very quickly?
Uh-huh.
Okay, this presentation that's on the screen right now,
Yes.
I remember seeing a draft of it in September.
Mhm.
Is this a separate thing that's updated, or is
The
this the same
final,
thing?
the final was released and sent out to everybody. I will double check with the district manager. It should have been sent, and I will ask her to send it to every single committee member. I don't know who, I'm gonna verify with who, but this should have been widely disseminated to everybody that the community board has an email for. So I
Okay,
will
because
undertake to do that. You
I
didn't get it?
just, I searched my email over the last 15 minutes looking for
Okay,
this, and the
that's
one that I
fine.
Can I
found was the
just
one
say,
from
can I say
September.
That's-
something, please? I'm sorry. I just want to add some information.
Just 1 second, please, 1 second, please. So this is an R4, right?
Yeah, I just
When
want to
you
say that
scroll,
this is
1 second,
yeah,
please,
this
R5.
information
It
is on the
shows you,
DCP. Can I just give the information to people?
I will tell, but they don't even have to go searching for it. Everything is here,
Yeah, but
right?
everything is
This
not
is an
here.
R5
is
because
not
even to
here.
go into DCP,
Everything is
whatever,
not
so
here.
it shows, right? So if you want to go to, do you want to put the link or tell them how they can
No,
find it in
I've done
DCP?
this before. On the DCP website, it shows you the difference between R4, R4A, R4B, R5, R5A, R5B, R6, R6A, R6B, all on and on and on. And you can bring up the diagrams and you can see the sizes of the houses and the density. It's all right there. If anybody has time to get on the website, they can just do it. Because
Okay, so
this proposal doesn't have all the information.
so let me also say this, right? Because I've worked in these spaces. It's not that I don't have an understanding necessarily of what the different distinctions are. I don't understand how it plays out in the neighborhood because I haven't had time to actually get around the district and see how it plays out. And I think that's the thing that's the connection that needs to happen for people, right? It's one thing to be able to, I can sit here and I can get through the distinctions between a C42 and an R4B, and I can kind of do that in a very intellectual way. But in terms of what it looks like on a given block, the way it appears that Marguerite is able to, I haven't had the opportunity to walk the streets.
Well, that's what
that
happens when you've been
much
living someplace
that.
for 60
And
years. That's why
I
I
mean,
know.
I've been living here for 40 years. I'm not,
Well, then you should know.
should I?
Know what the neighborhood looks like.
Okay,
and
excuse
how
me,
we wanna
excuse me,
keep
on
the
point of
neighborhood.
order, on point of order, on point of
We're not
order.
allowed to talk to
Who
each other.
else, on point of order, who hasn't spoken or would like to speak?
Well, I had one more question.
Okay, go ahead.
And am I wrong to think that some of this stuff was put up on the board's website? Some of these documentation?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so that's another thing that I need to go back and look at. I feel like my issue is I learn a bunch of stuff at one point and then it's 3 months later before I realize how it all connects. So I will go back and do my homework. I will email you if I have further questions about whatever.
Yeah,
But
besides,
I
I do
just
also
wanted, I wanted to say that I said what I think I want to say for now.
okay, and besides that, I would appreciate a call from you on, but go ahead. I just want to run something else by you, but go ahead. So anybody else who did not speak as yet? I'm going to stop sharing this for you for briefly and then share the codes, right?
Miss James, I put my hand up again. May I speak? This is Bree DeCosta.
Please do.
I
Please do.
just wanted to make sure that the committee understood like what I had said before and what I'm concerned about now as far as the R5B zoning would be concerned is because I'm in a semi-detached house, but I have a fully detached home next to me, I could lose my side yard. So that's what I'm concerned about. That's what the R5B would do versus an R5A, which would leave me with a side yard. So essentially a developer could come in, buy my neighbor's house and build right up against my property line, which I do not want. So that is my issue. Marguerite might have something different. I don't know.
Okay, so on the
Yeah,
screen,
different.
excuse me, please, on the screen, I have brought up the planning zone to make it more comfortable for you to explore this on your own. So you just Google New York City Department of City and Planning zoning codes. This will come up and it tells you descriptively and in narrative what exactly each one means. So it shows you R4 here. You scroll down some more, right? It tells you what an R4A is. Let me just say what an R4A is, which is what Margarita is pushing for. R4A contextual districts are similar in that only 1 and 2 family detached residences are permitted. May I be permitted to read the sentence again? In an R4A, only 1 and 2 family detached residences are permitted. So the consultant could not, from a professional standpoint, change the zone or the zoning. It was already an R4, which allowed detached houses, row houses, and everything else in an area where the existing homes are all attached, to then change it from attached to detached. That's physically not possible.
But that's
And
what
that is,
zoning is.
excuse me, please. That is why the designation was used of R4B versus an R4A. That was explained at the committee meeting before the vote took place. That was what R4 was used at, because those those areas designated as R4B, that is what they are right now. So how do we present a plan to DCP and tell them in areas where the homes are all attached, and usually, for example, we show the R4B that those homes where they're all attached, to now change that to an R4A? That did not quite make sense, and that's why the rest of the committee, when that was explained, the consultant was here, did not vote as Margarita wanted.
Am I allowed to say
Regardless of that, I'm still giving her a third option to do it. And I've said the only way the board has voted on this was what the committee voted. The board has voted. She
But
objects.
they didn't
And
understand, and you're still
I'm
not
not responding. I've done more than I could do.
No, and you're not letting
right?
me explain.
To enable people. I've directed them to this website. I've
You're
spent
not letting me
hours.
explain it.
I
But
have
the
spent
point of
countless
point of
Margarita
down
stop
zoning
speaking over
is
someone.
no, because you're not
I have
you're
spent
not giving all the
hours. I have
information.
spent more than 300 hours this year of my professional time working on zoning, right? Developing PowerPoints, trying to educate people. I cannot push it down people's throat. I can just present. And I'm telling everybody right now, exactly as Marguerite said, on the DCP's website, there is a clear information about the difference in every single code. And an R4 means one thing and one thing only, in that 1 or 2 family detached houses are permitted. That's a restriction. Then it goes on. This is what the R4B is. Click on it. Primarily a contextual row houses, which is what we have in substantial areas of the district. So where there were row houses, the consultant, he actually visually determined what was on the particular blocks, and he put the zoning to match it. Now you're saying that why didn't you leave it at R41? Because an R41 gives even greater flexibility. Why didn't you leave it as an R4 in the first place? Because an R4 gives greater, even more flexibility than an R4B. With an R4B, this is what's limited here, right? It's limited to low-rise, 1 and 2 family attached residences. R4 districts also permit detached and semi-detached buildings. That is why this was used. Again, we've spent a lot of time on this. I have been very clear. We are in the process of doing community engagement, which includes members of the committee, includes members of the board, and the general public at large. Everyone has an opportunity to express their opinion. I only ask that you express it in a way that does not defeat the whole thing, because we don't want to what's the expression? Throw out the baby with the bath, okay? So if you beat up on this, and DCP says, well, people are beating up on it because they don't like one point. By doing this, let's be very clear. We are permitting the rest of the district to be destroyed. So we cannot just be interested in a particular, in saving a particular block and letting the rest of the district be destroyed. So I'm asking and making the comments, be very clear. However, in areas which were designated to be changed to R4B, I object. I don't think it's reasonable, and give your reasons and move on. If enough people make that comment, it has to be considered. It cannot be ignored because, for one thing, DCP is going to have access to the surveys, right? The surveys are going to have to be presented. It is there. And I think I've made this as clear as I possibly can. To recap, please go to DCP's, please, first of all, go through the document. If you have not received it, call the community board. I'm asking you to just spend 30 minutes of your life going through it to get a flavor of what's being done here. The whole idea is to stop the massive destruction of our community, because the more that it's destroyed, and one day we wake up and everything is going to be destroyed. We are trying to save as much as possible. This is the method of doing it, of stopping this destruction. Now it was voted on to bring us to this stage. Now it is open to anyone and everyone in the community to express their viewpoints in a way that does not destroy this. Okay, because if everybody goes on the line and talks about how bad this is because, we are designated places that are already R4B. They are R4B right now. The consultant ensured that only areas which are R4B, and then trying to change it to something it's not. They are not R4A because they have no detached homes there.
We are
Until this whole
trying to
thing is not held.
downzone in some of these areas. The point is, we're going to upzone these corridors and these other areas. If we downzone them, even if they're what they are now is mostly a B, they're not designated B. So if we downzone it, then they can't build more. Then they will, what's grandfathered, what's there is there, but then they won't be able to build more. The point is to keep some
Margarita, you made the point, and I'm saying
no,
to
but
you,
you're not, but you're not.
I have heard what you said. I've been very accommodating. I'm simply saying the only way to resolve this right now is to have as many people, express your opinion to as many people as you can, and have them go on the community board side and express their opinion. And again, I'm asking, do not throw the baby out with the bath. Be very succinct in what you are disagreeing with, and that you're not disagreeing in principle with the document.
I am not disagreeing in principle. I just want to make that clear.
So make it clear, and get your neighbors to do it. You have at least 40 people on your block who should be able to do it. Make some calls. I mean, okay, I think we need to move on because we've been on this
Can I say
topic
something,
again.
please?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, this is Hazel Martinez. I don't like how this community engagement piece is not really coming to fruition. Our community does not respond to online things. We need, I agree with Bree because a lot of people have had the experience she may have where you can't even get to your backyard or whatever. And I think you need to have sessions like we used to have where, these issues are presented. There are activities so people get a visual idea of what they're facing and can make a more informed decision. Just going to this website and answering a questionnaire about what they have no idea about is not going to be helpful for anybody.
Absolutely right. And so I'm requesting volunteers from this committee to help coordinate a town hall meeting for February and March. We need volunteers to be able to, whatever it is. It cannot be one person doing this. So I'm expecting calls this week or the next week or so saying, I want to volunteer to help coordinate. We'll have meetings. We'll discuss how we do it, where it's going to be held, how it's going to be held, whatever. But I need volunteers to be able to move the community engagement forward.
Yes, because our committee has not really been had any opportunity to be really engaged.
Okay, so this is
And
it
that's
right
why we
now.
have this
The
problem
point
right now.
so we brought it now that we have a written document to work with. We can now go through it and examine it at the community level. And so I'm asking for volunteers from this committee to work on having our first town hall session in February.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have you
Volunteer
requested funding?
now? Because I'm volunteering.
Thank you.
Have you
I
requested
want to
funding from the community board so that we can get
Um,
some tools to work with?
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. We did not have a assistant district manager. I waited, I kept asking whether the position is going to be filled and when it's all going to be filled. So that means there are funds available. And yes, our request is now going, I waited until January, right, to see what was going on, if the monies were going to be used up in any way for salaries for the new ADM, whether he or she comes on board. That has not taken place, so there is money in the budget. And so, yes, we can request that a lot of that money, because it cannot be spent on, it has to be spent by June. Okay, has to be spent by June. Even if you have an ADM, she's not going to use up the entire year, because already it's even if it's February, March, which is likely, that's 3 or 4 years, 4 months of salary. He or she is not going to be able to use that up. So there is going to be money, and yes, it is. So that, for example, the money to pay for this document, the consultants who worked on it, came from the last ADM spot being vacant. So yes, right now there should be about $40,000-$50,000 available to be used for OTPS, which means other than personal services. So a request is going. No, first of all, no. I take this back. Can I have a motion from the floor that a request be made to the board to utilize unutilized funds on community engagement?
Yes.
Before you do that, you have that.
Who is speaking? Is somebody else speaking?
Hello, it's Hazel Martinez.
I thought it was
Do-
somebody else besides was speaking. Sorry, go ahead.
We need to figure out how much exactly you need, what tools you'll need, and materials, and how much they will cost.
I would
that
say
strategy
to
looks
you,
like?
I would say to you is we have to be based on what's available. And I would say there should be at least $30,000 available at the end of January that can, because that's I mean, and OMB agreed last year to recode that money from personal services to OTPS. So they've done it already, right? There should be 30,000. I just need the motion from the floor that whatever we ask, I will obtain how much money is available in the budget, has not been used. And unless any other committee has any other pressing issues, which it shouldn't, because they should be using from the other discretionary funds. We got most of this committee got most of the ADM salary last year. It wasn't used. It was about 35,000 that was left, and OMB said, okay, we'll give you 30. So they did it. But I need a motion from this, and then we'll open it for discussion. But I need a motion first from the floor. I'll open for discussion, and then we'll take a vote on it.
Okay, this is Hazel Martinez, and I would like to make a motion that this committee move forward with a more robust community engagement strategy.
CK Price seconds.
What does that mean? That does not mean anything. That just how do we do it? How do we fund it?
To
It has
request
to be-
funding to move forward with a more robust community engagement strategy, which would involve purchasing items to further educate our community at large in what the zoning process is all about.
Okay, can I just give it a little more so you can just rephrase it, right? So the request specifically should be from the committee that the board ask OMB to allocate unused funds, right, towards community engagement, and then say the things that you want to do. So can you just restate it one more time, please?
We would request that the board allocate unused OMB funds to improve develop a robust community engagement strategy to and host events to provide and educate our community on what the zoning strategy, the zoning efforts are, what the zoning efforts are about.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
I second.
Okay. The floor is open for discussion.
Adele Bennett, committee member. I would like to know how long and when do you plan on doing this? Community engagement, what day? Is it a weekday, a weekend, morning, evening?
It will be whatever the plan is. This is an opportunity for the committee to be fully engaged now. Fully
Yes,
engaged.
I remember
So
we-
whatever you decide, so I want people to become, you call me up or you call up another committee board member and say, this is what we can do. I'm asking you to be engaged. No, it was a long process. We needed to have a document first. We know the document. So this is an opportunity now. For example, you know there's an event going on. You call up a couple board committee members and say, there is an event. Would you like to join me there? Let's all do this together. We need to have the community. For it to be robust, it has to be everybody involved in whatever ways you identify. It's not just, I have to be the one thinking of everything. I'm asking you, please, I need the help. I
Yeah,
cannot
that's a-
think of everything.
JL, I have a suggestion. If you can get flyers, we can put them around the neighborhood, also in a lot of the stores to bring out more people.
Perfect. So what the monies will be used for example, based on the motion on the table, we can allocate some of the monies to printing flyers. That's what we can do.
Yes.
Absolutely.
This means I said a lot of the people.
And then two, we may be able to find funds to hire someone to actually go out there on weekends to do things. That money can be used as well for that. So we will need somebody who is good at community engagement, who is going to be willing to walk the streets, right? To be able to make this happen. I see lots of hands. I don't know who's next, but there's a motion on the table. We're going to have to vote on it in the next 2 or 3 minutes. Anybody else wants to speak on the motion?
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
Will there be a hard copy of the survey?
Yes, and that's a very, very good point. I met a lady who was willing to actually, she said there are many older people or many younger people, I don't want to, who prefer in writing. So yes, with those monies that we are going to request, we'll print out written surveys to be given to everybody who is willing to do this on my blog. So to answer your question, yes, it will be in writing as well.
We might also need for the events, like maps, like a big map for people to look at. Or when we did the community engagement the last times, we had big maps and some other things like interactive things with little houses that we can move around. But maybe we don't need that. But I think we're going to need maps with the zoning, or zoning overlay or something.
So what I'm going to ask as well, I'm going to try to create an email chain. Please, let's ensure I have your emails, and it's going to be community engagement and ideas, right? So let's keep circulating it, just add things that you think we can do. The first step right now is to ask for money. Anybody else wants to speak on this motion before we bring it to a vote?
Hazel Martinez, I think we need to have it should be like in a fair kind of format so that people can, there are places where you can purchase interactive zoning sort of activities and give people a chance to actually, we need to go back to that because a lot of people, the community has changed, a lot of different people here as well, and you can be able to actually get a visual of what they're signing on to.
Okay, so what we'll have to do is after we get the money, we know how much we have on the budget. I would very much like to hire an organization with expertise in community engagement to assist us. Right? That's doable. That's something I would like to do, but that doesn't mean we don't continue working ourselves. But that, and then hire somebody who is going to walk the streets and then the flyers and everything else. But first, we need to ask for the funding. So can I bring this discussion to an end and take a vote?
Yes.
Yes, all those in favor of the motion in terms of asking for funds to be able to use the funds for a community engagement, please indicate by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 people. Right now, I don't have a majority. I'm thinking
People on the phone can't raise their hands.
Okay, so those on the phone, can you unmute yourself?
I see 10.
Okay, good. Okay, fine. So I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it passes. Okay, so the motion passes. Thank you, Bree. The motion passes that we are going to send a letter to the board requesting that the funds that were not used by the ADM be used for community engagement. And even besides, I hate to say, even besides the rezoning thing, it's another way of getting the community behind the community board and moving forward, right? So it benefits the community and the community board even on a wider scale than just rezoning, because that's what we're missing right now, this interaction with the community. So this would be an ideal way of making that happen. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Is there any new business, old business that we need to do before we wrap up?
Well, I have new business. I wanted to inquire about the infrastructure of some of these places where the development is taking place, because I noticed that a lot of the streets are not paved, and also sinking in some areas. There are potholes. Who's in charge of that part of it?
Okay. Who is in charge of the problems being caused by developers? Is that a question?
Yes, and because it's really huge houses where smaller houses used to be, and I think in some ways damaging with all of this new infrastructure of the pipes and the cables, etc.
Okay. What I would ask right now, unless somebody else has a better suggestion, is that you send an email to the district manager, identifying the problems that you have and ask her to have it addressed.
Okay, and the trees are also under a different department, or?
Yes, whatever the issue is, the sinking holes, we need to document that. We need to yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other new business before we adjourn? Adele?
Yes.
Adele?
Thank you. Adele Bennett, committee member. What I've been listening to, I spoke to someone about it, is that they're changing the formula so that they do not have to, when they build an apartment building in an area, they do not have to use or allow any of the residents anything. They can't move in. They're going to be using people from outside. They said they're changing it from, I think, 40% down to 10%. Changing the percentage, for the residents who live here.
Are you talking about in terms of the labor force?
No, not labor force. I mean, moving in. If they put a 10 apartment building up, if they put that up for apartments, they do not have to allow the residents any kind of courtesy, nothing.
Okay, so it's my understanding that it really depends on how it's funded. If a project is funded by New York City, there's what's called community preference, where you have to give at least 20, 30, 40, whatever the number is, to community residents. If it's being funded by federal government or the state, there may not be any community preference. So what we have to do is that for new developments coming up, identify them and mobilize the community to be aware of it, what they need to do to be prepared to. And what I can do is to undertake to, I will ask the chairperson that if we can have someone who is involved in the quote unquote lottery come to the board to explain how the process works. I'm glad you raised that point because I hadn't thought of this before. Now would be a good time to get, I think it's called Connect Housing. I can't remember what it is. Perfect. So I thank you. Good. I thank you for raising this point. No, let's make this a motion because honestly, I just don't want to ask the chair as a personal, on a personal level. Can I get a very quick motion here that from the board, from the committee, that we request the board bring in someone to speak from Housing Connect or Connect Housing. Sorry, can I get a very quick motion?
Yes, I'd like to bring a motion that we request a representative for Housing Connect to speak on one of our committees.
No, at the board.
At the board.
At the board, give a presentation at the board level. Sorry, can you restate it? I interrupted your motion.
I'm sorry. I'd bring a motion to request that Housing Connect come to the board and do a presentation to explain the percentage for the housing and possible lottery at CB17.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Okay, any discussion? Can we go straight to vote, please? All in favor, please indicate so we can adjourn. All in favor, just raise your hands. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can I just get 2 more people to raise their hands or just call 8? Okay, I think we have. Thanks. Okay, anybody opposed? Okay, so we have it unanimous, whether a hand or should be unanimous. Thank you very much. There being no further. Thank you.
I heard this yesterday on 1010 News that they're changing the formula.
Okay.
Against the residents.
Okay. Okay. The city is under this misconception that by encouraging people to move to New York City, they're going to generate more tax revenue. And what they're failing to take into account, it's costing the city a lot more when they displace existing residents. That connection has not been made in the minds of the people in authority. So that's a problem. Okay, thank you very much. I thank you for coming out tonight. We had a very good meeting, I think, in terms of moving the agenda forward. The motions which you voted on tonight will be sent on to the board to act upon. And I encourage you, I beseech you, please let's all make this community engagement, be active. You think of something you can do, that's fine. Just tell me what it is, and you have my full support, right? It is our committee. We want to make this happen. We want to protect our community. We don't want to lose it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, everyone. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion
So
to
moved.
adjourn.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.